Hello, and welcome to Red Talks. I come across a point of contention fairly often in the comments of MGTOW videos and sometimes from the actual videos themselves. There's always somebody using the word quote-unquote movement while discussing MGTOW, and somebody else jumping in, screeching and yelling that MGTOW is not a movement. Let's try to take a look at this from every angle possible and see if we can come to a reasonable conclusion. Now, first of all, why are there people reacting in such a displeased manner at the use of the word movement, and why is MGTOW being a movement seen as a bad thing in the first place? Are all movements inherently bad or corrupt or unnecessary? I don't think so, and I don't think any rational person would think that either. There have been many movements, big and small, that have produced great changes and progress in our lives. The civil rights movement of the 1960s being one of the most prolific examples comes to mind, and we in the United States would most likely not have the Bill of Rights we do if the revolutionaries didn't form a movement to demand freedom from the British Empire and fight off the redcoats. Now, there have certainly been a fair share of bad movements like feminism or the many other movements based on socialism or Marxism, but MGTOW is about as close to those types of movements as an SJW is to a rational and logical thinking brain. Many comments that state MGTOW is not a movement do so with some noticeable common reasons why, such as MGTOW does not have a leader or hierarchy, or MGTOW does not openly try to recruit or spread its message like a movement does. People also say MGTOW is not supposed to be out in the open like a movement. It is supposed to remain underground, so it can't be targeted by mainstream society. This has absolutely nothing to do with a movement, but it gets thrown around enough that I feel we should take a look at it anyway. And finally, some comments strictly try to maintain an exclusive single definition of MGTOW, which is that it is a philosophical lifestyle choice, which I would mostly agree with. In order to offer my rebuttals to these comments, let's start with some definitions. I am a firm believer in clarifying and maintaining proper definitions so there is less likely to be any misunderstandings, and it also helps keep people honest and on point. Let's start by looking at the leaders/hierarchy argument. Now, the definition for hierarchy has a couple different applications, but the two that would apply most to MGTOW would be a system or organization in which people or groups are ranked one above the other according to status or authority, and the other would be an arrangement or classification of things according to relative importance or inclusiveness. So how does this apply to whether MGTOW is a hierarchy or not? Well, you are watching MGTOW content right now, aren't you? And you, the person watching this video, most likely consume other MGTOW or Red Pill content, whether it be from other YouTubers, forums, social media, books, other online sources, or even people you talk to in person. The MGTOW men that you consume content from are in fact part of a hierarchy, and so are you, the consumer. They are of higher status to different degrees than the regular person that might not be so knowledgeable or experienced when it comes to having dealt with red pill subject matter. Anybody you look up to as an authority of a certain subject is higher than you from a hierarchical perspective. This hierarchy does not get much higher than Barbarossa, who is seen by many as one of the pioneers that brought MGTOW to the internet. Even he has used the term movement when discussing MGTOW. If you were to make your own MGTOW Mount Rushmore, the men that you choose to be on the mountain would be considered men that you look up to. They provide you with information and association, and they help lead you in the right direction as you pursue your MGTOW journey. My particular MGTOW Mount Rushmore would most likely be different from yours. We would all have our own selection of favorite MGTOW men that impacts us the most for various reasons. The interesting thing about MGTOW content on YouTube in particular, as well as some other various sources, is that you have actual data to show who is higher in status in the MGTOW community. The more views and subs a MGTOW channel has, the more obvious it is that they are pretty high in status and have a degree of leadership. So this means, by definition, MGTOW has characteristics of a hierarchy. I'm not sure why leaders or hierarchy is perceived by some as having an automatic negative association with MGTOW. I have not seen a single comment that has elaborated as to why leaders and hierarchy in MGTOW is bad, only that it simply is. Some comments claiming MGTOW is not a movement seem to do so on the basis that feminism is a movement, and feminism is bad, therefore if MGTOW is a movement, then it is also bad.
Pardon me, but that's bullshit.
This is quite the fallacy. Not all snakes are bad, just the poisonous ones. And even then, the poisonous snakes can help keep vermin under control. Feminism also does not have a defined leader, at least not one that I can name. Can any of you tell me who the commander-in-chief of feminism is? A movement does not require a solitary leader in order to function or exist. I would like to share an anecdote from when I was in high school that I believe suits this topic. The high school I went to was very large in terms of the property size and the layout of the classrooms and different buildings for different departments. One year there was a new building with new classrooms that was added on, but the problem was that it made it so there were certain classrooms that were so far apart from each other you could not make it from one class to the other in the 5-minute window that was allowed between class periods. Many students were late every single day, and they were getting more and more in trouble because of this. A bunch of students got tired of getting tardy citations and other punishments for something that could not be avoided. A few students started sharing their complaints with other students and found solidarity. Then we complained to the teachers and eventually complained to the principal. In the end, we got the school to change the tardy policy for students that were in the really far away classes by giving them an extra minute, which was all that was needed. So, what I was part of was indeed a movement. A group of students came together to have our voices heard, and we created a change that benefited us. And there was no leader. Now let's go ahead and introduce the actual definition of the word movement. Now there are quite a few variables due to different meanings of the word, but the two that apply here would be a group of people working together to advance their shared political, social, or artistic ideas. And the other definition is a campaign undertaken by a group of people working together. By definition, a leader is not specified. Everything in the universe naturally has status and hierarchies in one way or another. They don't guarantee that they're inherently good or bad, though. I see nothing wrong with them as long as high-status individuals do not abuse their status, and so long as that lower-status individuals do not allow their status to promote negative feelings about themselves or others. When it comes to hierarchies, chickens have a pecking order, children don't get to tell adults what to do, cucks get to masturbate while crying in the corner while Chad fucks their wife, and we get to have MGTOW men that we can look up to, and I don't see anything wrong with that. Next, we have people saying that MGTOW does not openly try to recruit or spread its message like a movement does. I don't know of any special tactics exclusive to a movement and how it tries to spread its message or recruit people. Movements usually produce information stating something they agree or disagree with and try to appeal to a certain audience and encourage others to participate. This sounds an awful lot like MGTOW content to me. Every day, thousands of MGTOW men produce videos, blog posts, comments, articles, social media posts, and more in order to provide information, voice concerns, share ideas, and encourage men. Many MGTOW content creators on YouTube do openly state they want MGTOW to be spread to more men and they want it to grow. Many YouTube comments say the same. Big John himself, from MGTOW's Freedom and Society Men's Freedom, openly tries to fundraise and organize in an effort to form a large group of men that can directly fight gynocentrism. Is this a bad thing? No, so long as there is no nefarious activity involved. Recruiting, growing, and encouraging more men to take the red pill only helps MGTOW become stronger and helps fight gynocentrism while men become better versions of themselves. People also say that MGTOW is not a movement because it's not supposed to be out in the open. It is supposed to remain underground so it cannot be targeted by mainstream society. If MGTOW is not supposed to be out in the open, then what the hell are we doing here on YouTube and other online places? And I hate to break it to you, but MGTOW is already under attack, whether it's been out in the open or not. It's been under attack from everything and everybody for a long time. MGTOW dates back as far as the 1800s, and it was under attack back then just as it is now. Even men, if you can call them that, have produced everything from anti-MGTOW videos to slanderous hit piece news articles about MGTOW. Even some larger mainstream news outlets like The Sun and CNN have caught on to the existence of MGTOW. Being afraid of being attacked by mainstream society to me is a sign of weakness and tells me there is a lack of confidence in being MGTOW. Yes, many of us would be fired from our job if we openly discussed MGTOW in the workplace, and we would be cast out as social pariahs by some people in our private lives, but that doesn't mean we have to hide like a child that closes their eyes and pretends nobody can see them. Some men can afford to be completely out in the open and some cannot. If you are one that cannot, it's not difficult to remain anonymous in the MGTOW community and still live out your MGTOW lifestyle. You are constantly under attack whether you are out in the open or not, even if you aren't even MGTOW. There is always going to be somebody trying to push their agenda and make your life more difficult in order to make their life easier and gain an unfair advantage over you. I would argue that MGTOW should actually be more direct in its approach and be more proactive and be more offensive rather than so passive and defensive like it is now. I must be careful of what I say here as to not upset the YouTube Gestapo. I'm not calling for violence nor trying to incite hate, but I would be impressed if I happened to walk by a David's Bridal Store one day and saw a MGTOW sticker slapped on the front window. Getting politically involved is also something that I would encourage, but that subject is perhaps better for another video. The final argument I would like to go over is how many people see MGTOW not as a movement, but exclusively as a philosophical lifestyle choice. This I do agree with, but with some caveats. MGTOW is very much a lifestyle choice, and one fascinating thing about it is that this choice can be lived out differently for different lifestyles. We have everything from MGTOW monks who swear off women altogether to men who may have already been married with children when they discovered the red pill, and they try to maintain their relationship as close to MGTOW standards as possible. And we have everything in between, and we even have examples of men who live the MGTOW lifestyle, yet they have never even heard of MGTOW or the red pill. This difference among all of us makes MGTOW very strong because its bar for entry is really low, but it can also make things difficult by not clearly defining what MGTOW is. We know it's a philosophy, but what is the philosophy? Some would say it's simply men walking away, but to me that's too simple. It doesn't say what you're walking away from or what you're walking towards. I suppose it's mostly walking away from social norms in order to focus on yourself and live a lifestyle of personal freedom. How you do this and the motivations behind this is the tricky part. You see, some men technically are MGTOW, but like I mentioned, they have never taken the red pill. They have never heard of gynocentrism or been divorce raped or been told by a feminist that they need to check their male privilege. Some men, especially historical men like the Wright brothers or Nikola Tesla, and some others like the Japanese Ronin samurai or the lone wolf cowboy or monks living peacefully in seclusion could be considered MGTOW, but for many, their decision to live their lifestyle was not motivated by rejecting social or political expectations like so many men today. This is the part that creates the difference between us, yet we're all still practicing the same philosophy. Not all athletes are professional basketball players, but all professional basketball players are athletes. If you live a certain way purely for personal reasons, such as eating a healthy diet or choosing to exercise regularly, yes, you have made a personal lifestyle choice based on a certain philosophy, but you aren't part of a movement. Or another example might be, if you decide to go vegan purely for dietary preference, then you only made a personal lifestyle choice on your own volition. But if you decide to go vegan because the food industry and the treatment of animals, you just became part of a movement. In other words, if you made a lifestyle choice that was motivated by modern-day politics or societal expectations on you, and there are a community of individuals who share the same philosophy, then there are traits of a social, political, or cultural movement involved. Basically, if you took the red pill and went MGTOW, then by definition you inadvertently became part of a movement. You, along with many other men, refused the socio, political, and cultural system of gynocentrism and did so by going your own way in order to be free. And let's go ahead and go over the definition of a movement in order to break everything down piece by piece. The first version of the definition that applies is a group of people working together to advance their shared political, social, or artistic ideas. We are people, and we are many, so yes, we are a group of people. Working together? Yes, we work together by way of encouragement, and we gather at certain places to communicate and support each other in various ways for our efforts to advance. Yes, we try to advance MGTOW philosophy by trying to red pill as many men as possible with information that can help them escape gynocentrism and lead to a more fulfilling life. Shared political, social, or artistic ideas? Yes, we do share many ideas on a regular basis. The second version of the definition that applies is a campaign undertaken by a group of people working together. This version is the definition that differentiates some of us, and I believe this is where all the anti-MGTOW movement comments come from. You as an individual might not seek change by taking direct action against the things that made you decide to go MGTOW, but you are still against something and for something else in this society. Some MGTOW practice their philosophy by actively fighting gynocentrism head-on, while some others treat MGTOW more like a hunger strike. And some purely see it as a road to self-improvement. Either way, you are free to live your MGTOW lifestyle as you see fit. Though I do wish more men were more directly involved in fighting gynocentrism head-on, but that I will discuss in another video. So, what have we learned here today? 1. Movements don't need leaders. 2. Movements are not inherently bad. 3. Hierarchy is omnipresent. 4. MGTOW is not some underground secret. 5. The definition of the word movement can apply to MGTOW. With all that being said, I hope people can stop associating negative connotations with MGTOW being a movement. There really is nothing inherently wrong with MGTOW being a movement. If it's not a movement for you, then that's okay. It might be a movement for somebody else that actually hopes certain things change in this world and wants to fight for change. I not only see MGTOW as a movement, I see it as something even more than that. I see it as a new renaissance for men, and that should make you really excited to be a part of this community. And that is the end of this video. I thank you for watching, and as with all of my MGTOW videos, I like to play a selection of MGTOW music. If you would like more MGTOW music, you can always check out my MGTOW music playlist linked in the video and in the description. Today's MGTOW music sample is by Fleetwood Mac with their song Go Your Own Way, off of the Rumors album released in 1977. Enjoy.